At the end of a dark, winding road, surrounded by dense forest, stood the Ravenwood Hotel. It was a majestic building, but its ancient facade and remote location made it a dark and mysterious place. The rain was falling steadily when Emily and her husband, John, arrived at the hotel that night. They had decided to take a weekend trip to celebrate their wedding anniversary, but what awaited them at Ravenwood was much more than they could imagine. The hotel lobby was deserted when they entered, and the sound of the wooden floors creaking beneath their footsteps echoed throughout the space. A roaring fireplace in the corner of the room provided dim light and comforting warmth. The receptionist, a woman with gray hair and mysterious eyes, greeted them with a sinister smile. "Welcome to the Ravenwood Hotel. You have a key to room 237, she said, handing the key on a worn keychain. The couple went to the bedroom, climbing a wooden staircase that creaked with each step. The hallway was dimly lit and silent, with old portraits on the walls that seemed to watch them as they passed. When they arrived at room 237, the room was spacious and elegantly decorated, but a feeling of oppression hung in the air. The lamp's light cast dancing shadows on the walls, and the four-poster bed looked inviting but sinister at the same time. Emily couldn't explain the discomfort she felt. As they settled in, a storm raged outside, with lightning lighting up the sky and thunder echoing on the horizon. Emily tried to shake off her dark thoughts, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong in this place. The night wore on and dinner in the hotel restaurant was dark and silent. They were the only guests in the dining room, and the waiter served their meals with an expressionless expression. Every sound of the rain hitting the windows seemed like a macabre echo. Back in their room, Emily and John tried to relax by watching a movie on television. But the storm outside was increasingly furious, with deafening thunder and lightning lighting up the room. Emily began to feel something watching them, an oppressive presence that made her nervous. That's when she noticed something strange. A frame on the wall contained an old photo of a couple, similar to them, in clothes from the last century. The couple's faces looked disturbingly familiar. Emily couldn't take her eyes off the photo, as if something was pulling her into it. John noticed his wife's expression and said, "Emily, is this bothering you?" She shook her head, unable to find words to explain her distress. They decided to take the photo off the wall and store it in a closet, hoping that it would dispel the feeling of oppression that hung over them. When they finally got into bed, the storm was still raging outside, and Emily was struggling to fall asleep. That's when she heard a soft sound coming from the hallway, like a faint, unsettling whisper. She shook John awake and asked if he heard it too. He frowned and listened carefully. The whispers grew louder and seemed to be approaching the room. It was as if several voices were whispering in unison, muttering indistinct and disturbing words. Emily and John exchanged worried glances and bravely left the room to investigate. The whispers guided them to the end of the hallway, where a wooden door was ajar. The whispers seemed to come from inside that room. Breathing quickly, they pushed open the door and entered the dark room. What they saw left them speechless. The room was full of dancing shadows and whispering voices, but there was no one there. It was as if the hotel itself was speaking to them. Emily and John quickly returned to their room, where the oppression was almost palpable. They decided to pack up and leave immediately, no matter how late it was. But when they tried to leave the room, they discovered that the door was locked, as if it were held by an invisible force. Desperate, they tried to call reception, but the phone was dead. They were trapped in the hotel, at the mercy of the supernatural forces that inhabited it. Determined to uncover the truth behind Ravenwood, Emily and John began researching the hotel's archives. They discovered that the building had been built in the 19th century by a wealthy and eccentric family, the Ravenscrofts. Rumors of occult practices and dark rituals surrounded the family, and they were known to be obsessed with power. As the research progressed, Emily and John began to understand that the hotel was a gathering place for those seeking the supernatural. The Ravenscrofts were known for hosting secret rituals and meetings with dark entities. They also found ancient stories of guests who have mysteriously disappeared over the years. Some were mentioned in records as having checked in but were never seen again. The dates of these disappearances coincided with strange events that occurred at the hotel. Emily and John realized that Ravenwood was more than just a dark place. It was a place with a dark and terrifying past. They felt they needed to uncover the hotel's secrets to have a chance of escaping the clutches of the supernatural. As they continued to investigate, the storm outside roared louder than ever, as if the sky itself was furious with their discoveries. Lightning flashed across the night sky, casting unsettling shadows across the hotel corridor. Emily and John found detailed records about rituals performed by the Ravenscrofts and their guests. They read about summons to dark entities, sacrificial offerings, and paranormal experiences that occurred deep within the hotel. It was as if Ravenwood was a portal to the supernatural world, and the Ravenscrofts were willing to pay any price to gain power. With each page they turned, Emily and John felt the weight of the hotel's past on their shoulders. They knew that to unravel the mystery and escape the nightmare they were trapped in, they would have to confront the dark forces that haunted Ravenwood. As the storm continued outside, they planned to perform an exorcism ritual to purify the hotel and break the curse imprisoning it. But the night was far from over, and the final confrontation with the supernatural was just beginning. Emily and John noticed that the hotel was infused with the energy and spirits of the people who had passed through there over the years. The whispers they heard were the voices of those who had lost themselves in the depths of Ravenwood. Determined to break the curse that kept them trapped, Emily and John performed an exorcism ritual. They used candles and incense to purify the environment and recited ancient words of protection. The storm outside roared louder than ever, but they were undeterred. As the ritual progressed, the shadows and whispers gradually subsided. When the last verse was recited, the rain outside stopped abruptly, and the oppressive energy that had dominated the hotel dissipated. The bedroom door unlocked, and Emily and John knew they were free. They left the Ravenwood Hotel that night, never looking back. The experience would haunt them for the rest of their lives, but they knew they had broken the curse that kept the place trapped in time. The Ravenwood would never again be a gathering place for the supernatural, but the hotel's dark history would remain a reminder of the past. As they drove down the dark road, the storm had given way to a starry sky. Emily and John knew they had faced something beyond human understanding, something that had challenged them to the limit. But they also knew that they had survived, and that together they could overcome any obstacle. As they drove away from the Ravenwood Hotel, Emily looked back one last time. She saw the hotel lights flickering in the darkness, as if the building itself mourned her departure. But they could no longer be held hostage in that sinister place. Their love and courage had triumphed over evil, and they were ready to face the future together, knowing that nothing could break their bond. And so, the dark road disappeared as Emily and John walked towards the morning light. They left the Ravenwood Hotel and their dark past behind, taking with them the memory of a night that defied reason and tested their resolve. But as survivors, they were certain that love and courage would always prevail over the shadows of the past.